Let me quote from Revelation chapter 17. As he carried me away in the Spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-coloured beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. In verse 9, this calls for a mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is sitting. They are also 7 kings. And then verse 10, 5 of them have fallen. 1 is living, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue for a short time. And the beast that was and is no longer is the 8th king, but it belongs with the 7 kings and goes to its destruction. Now, let me explain this. All symbolism calls for wisdom and context. It is very clear that this cannot be Rome or the Vatican, despite a lot of people who have taught that this is so. You see, mountains being symbolic of kingdoms or empires, they don't have 7 empires on top of Vatican City. So how could Rome, the so-called city on 7 hills, have 7 kings, each of which has the name of blasphemy on it? Look at it again. There are actually 8 beast empires, and the 8th one will be ruled by the Antichrist. Now, anti is in the place of, not opposed to. It's a replacement understanding. So let's look at the empires of the superpowers of the past. It began with the Egyptians, then it was the Assyrians, then the Babylonians, then the Medes and the Persians, and then the Greek or Macedonian one under Alexander, and these have fallen according to the scripture of John. There is one right now at the time that he wrote this, and that would be the Roman Empire. And there is another one not yet existing that will come, it will cease to exist, and then it will return. So the 7th one must come from the region of the first 5. Now the common view is this is a revived Roman Empire, but scripture, history, and common sense rule this out. Every one of the previous empires ruled the Middle East, including Jerusalem. Here's a map of the Middle East, and I've underlined where all these empires are. But look at where their boundaries are. Here's the Egyptian Empire. Here's the Assyrian Empire, the first to use terrorism as a weapon. Interesting. Here's the Babylonian Empire. Here's the Medes and the Persians Empire. And here's the Greek Empire. It actually goes off the map because it's just so big. Each of these empires, by and large, were destroyed and absorbed by their predecessor. But who absorbed the Roman Empire? It decayed, it fractured, and every attempt to revive it has been unsuccessful. And here's a map showing the provinces of the Roman Empire. And you'll see that it's far more Eurocentric, based in Europe, than it is in the Middle East. See, Rome was in decay by the end of the 300s, when it divided into East and West. The West was conquered by Odoacer in 476, who deposed the last Western emperor. The East was called Byzantine and was later conquered about 1,000 years later by the Ottoman Turks. So this kingdom or empire was the Islamic Caliphate, which morphed into the Ottoman Empire. And here are the boundaries of the Ottoman Empire as recorded. So now we see that all of these nations have a symbol, and they're all Islamic. What is the significance? Let's look at the Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Here's the Babylonian one, because this is from his time forward. He doesn't count the Egyptians that have already passed. The Medes and the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and then there's this understanding about Rome dividing and a revived Roman emperor confederacy coming, the iron and the clay. And some people might point to the fact that the European Union building in Strasbourg is a Tower of Babel work in progress, and it looks like this. And some people might also point to the woman riding the beast. It's actually on some of their currency, and the EU building in Brussels. But I think there's another answer here. And I agree with them up to the point where they get to the Romans and the Byzantines, where it begins to split. But then I believe it becomes the Islamic Caliphate and the Ottomans, and it becomes a revived Islamic Caliphate. Remember at the end of World War I, when the Turks joined the Germans in fighting and lost, and it was Britain and France, supposedly Christian nations, that cancelled the Ottoman Empire, drew the boundaries on the Middle East, and abolished the office of the Caliph about 1923 or thereabouts. And so I think this is the beast that has been, and it is going to come again. And we see examples of this in media and so on, where there's almost an invasion by Islam of many countries around the world. And so if you want to know more, then we have resources that will tell you a whole lot more than this. Thank you.